I'm just doing with my hands, and it's going to go straight on to the grill. I'm just going to grill 2 of them. And that's nice. You can kind of see the quinoa sort of poking through, and the cheese looks super delicious. And this is probably going to cook for approximately 5 minutes each side, and they'll be ready. They're not too fat, so if they were slight, if you wanted to make bigger ones, they'd obviously need to go into the oven just to be finished off. So with that, we're going to do a really tasty carrot relish, kind of a carrot and apple slaw, which is lovely, really nice.
Ian, just quickly before you get onto the slaw, obviously these are healthy recipes that we're doing today. What about the sodium content in burgers, salt and seasoning and pepper and things like that? What do you recommend?
That's a good question. So James, so with this particular burger, you've got 2 elements there. The first one is, that's my grill, hang on a second. The first one is you've got the quinoa, which is smoked, so that's got a lot of flavor in it. And then cheese by default will have a sodium content to it as well. So for me, I think that'll be sufficient. And with these Nourish Life recipes, we kind of, we're aiming for, not too high levels of salt, and also wanting to keep that fat content down as well. So I've not put any seasoning in there at all, and I think the cheese will do the trick for that. So moving on to the slaw, very simply, I've chopped up some apple in sort of matchstick shapes. That goes into a bowl. Some chili for a bit of bite. I've taken the seeds out, so if you want it slightly hotter, they can go in. And then your carrot, once again, just a very fine julienne of carrot sticks, similar size and thickness to the apple, and equal quantities as well. And then some coriander. And then I've got a mixture here of grated ginger, grated garlic, and lemon juice. And that goes in. And then the final thing we're going to do with this recipe is we're going to add some mustard seeds. But what we're going to do is we're going to season them, which basically means we're going to put them in a pan with a touch of oil, and we're going to allow them to pop and for that flavor to come out. So I'll just show you very simply. You add a bit of oil to your pan. I've already preheated this pan, so it is quite warm, smoking away. And what you're going to hear are the mustard seeds popping as soon as they go in. They've got kind of a nice little crackle, and they probably take about 10 seconds, and they're done. And just warm like that, they go straight on to your slaw.
Are they quite easily accessible, mustard seeds, Ian? Are they kind of routine supermarket now?
What, the mustard seeds? Yes, mustard seeds are very easily available from all supermarkets, or if you want to buy them in bulk from Asian stores. Yeah, so they're not difficult to get hold of at all. And you just mix it up, and that's. I'm just going to hold it up to the camera so you can see. I mean, it looks really pretty and lovely crunch to it, and super fragrant as well. There we go. So that's your slaw, and then I'm going to put that to one side. So I'm just going to quickly look at our burgers. They're looking beautiful, and as I said, about 5 minutes each side. So our next salad, you could almost call, I guess, a superfood salad. And some of the ingredients, Luxey, maybe you can talk us through. So the first one we're going to add to the salad is the soya bean, the edamame bean. Can you tell us just a little bit about the nutritionals on that and why it's so good for you, why it's become so popular?
Yeah, absolutely. Soya I guess, just generally, it's usually quite a nice sort of add-on, I guess, to sort of bulk up in terms of fibre, but it's also quite a really good sort of versatile vegan alternative too. So it's actually a nice way to bulk up salads. It's got a good amount of fibre. It's actually also beneficial for sort of heart health as well. So it's actually a great way to add them in. And actually, it's usually, I guess, more commonly now, it's usually a lot of people do eat them as a snack, I guess. So it's quite a nice alternative to have as a snack to some of your conventional snacking items, just because it's a nice little boost of energy, fibre, and can sort of help keep you fuller for slightly longer in between those meals. And I think they also add a really lovely crunch, don't they, I guess, Ian, to the actual salad that you're putting together.
Excellent. Great. Thanks, Luxey. Before I start the salad, I'm going to cook the mackerel. These are 2 delicious mackerel fillets. They're filleted. and all I've done to them is I've literally just made little incisions on top. So they call it, chef talk, we call it scoring. Score on top of the fish, and I'm going to put those under a grill. So what you want to do when you cook these at home, get your grill as hot as it can go, and put the mackerel on as high as it'll go. So this is obviously an industrial grill, and you're probably looking at about 2 minutes to get these nicely charred. The reason why we want them charred is just for that flavor. So if you can imagine the flavor of, you know, of a sort of that charcoal barbecue flavor, you kind of want to get that. So you want to take your skin just past the golden brown stage, so it's nicely sort of getting to that tipping point where you almost think you might have burnt it. You want to get to that point, and like I say, about 2 minutes. Now what you need to realize, of course, is that you're cooking that fish on a metal pan. As soon as you take that off the grill, it'll still carry on cooking slowly. So you're probably going to cook it 3/4, 80% of the way under the grill. Take it out and just let it rest for about 5 minutes, and it'll carry on cooking. It'll be absolutely delicious. Obviously mackerel, an oily fish. Actually, you want to talk to us a bit about mackerel?
Yeah, absolutely.
The benefits of that?
Sure, exactly like you touched upon, Ian. Mackerel is an oily fish, and it's something we as a nation do struggle to include and have more frequently in our diet. So actually trying to incorporate it into your lunches is actually a really great way to achieve your oily fish portion for the week. So mackerel is a great example, and also I guess it does depend on availability. So other sort of fish you can have as well, that can contribute. So whether you use whitefish or other oily fish such as salmon, etc., you can also use like pilchards, things such as that. But I think mackerel's always quite a nice, easy to prepare oily fish that you can try to include in your diet. And I think definitely the saltiness that you get from mackerel, you don't tend to need to flavour it too much. So it can sort of complement a number of dishes, especially if you're preparing it for lunch.
Delicious. I love mackerel.
Great. Cool, so I'm going to start the salad now. So a lot of these ingredients are pre-prepared, and once you've done that, the actual salad is super quick to put together. So the first ingredient I'm going to put in is the quinoa. As I said, I'm using the smoked quinoa, British, from Hobney Dodds. That goes in first. I've got 200 grams of that. I've then got some sweet potato. Sweet potato, always skin on. The skin is really, really thin. It's not unpleasant to eat, it's quite tasty, and I've roasted this at quite a high heat, 220 degrees for about 15 minutes, and those go in now, so just until they're nicely caramelized and obviously soft. I'm just going to hear the mackerel cooking behind. I want to make sure I'm not going to burn that completely. That's looking delicious. So I'm going to take that out. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So if I hold it up to the thing, you can see that, you think, oh gosh, you've definitely burnt that. But that skin is super thin. Those thin little lines of skin are super, super crispy, and with that charred flavor to it, it's going to be delicious. So, as I said, that'll carry on cooking now. And just a point of interest, the amount of oil, the natural oils from that fish have come out. You know, you're probably looking at a good tablespoon of oil there. So once you get oily fish, you know, natural oils, there's no need to add extra olive oil to that at all. This is going to go to the side now. And I'm going to do the salad. So, as I said, you've got sweet potato and the quinoa in. Next ingredient, pomegranate. Actually, once again, with pomegranate, you see sort of pomegranate juice on supermarket shelves and being super healthy for you. What is it about pomegranates that makes it, you know, healthy and good for you?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, you're completely right. Pomegranates they've almost got this sort of health halo now. They're being claimed as sort of, like you said, like almost like a superfood. And why exactly are they? And it's because they are packed with lots of vitamins, minerals, and fibre. And there's actually lots of quite a few studies now trying to show the, I guess, relationship between pomegranates and whether can it improve your bone health as well as performance, athletic performance. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that it can have anti-inflammatory effects. So it can help sort of fight free radicals, so that's sort of toxins that can build up in the body, and it can actually be quite helpful in trying to lower blood pressure and help with your heart health. So it's quite versatile as well, I imagine. Like you say, Ian, you can probably add it into quite a lot of things, and salads are probably a great way in which you can incorporate it. It gives a sort of nice sweet punch as well when you're adding it to such a diverse flavour.
Wow, I didn't actually know all that. That's excellent. I mean, besides that, I mean, it's completely delicious, and it just visually looks Looks really, really good. So next ingredient is going to be some sun-dried tomatoes. These came in oil. I've drained the oil off. And once again, James, you mentioned about seasoning. I mean, these put a lot of natural salts in them as well. And then being sun-dried and slightly reduced in size, that flavor, once again, is quite punchy. So sun-dried tomatoes in. We've then got some parsley that goes in. And I've just coarsely chopped the parsley. No need to be too pedantic about that. Actually, can I just quickly ask you, with parsley, is it full of iron, parsley? I'm just trying to think in terms of health benefits. Is it out of all the herbs, is it a more healthier one? Would that be true to say?
I wouldn't say it's more healthier, but I guess if you're thinking of sort of greens in general in that respect, so things like your spinach, kale, etc., that's kind of like the powerhouses of sort of iron, calcium, etc. So those is what I would say. But definitely with herbs, you can definitely, it's like it's the flavor that they add, but also equally trying to add as much as you can definitely helps the profile of the dish.
Right, excellent. Okay, so the soya beans we spoke about earlier, they're going to go in as well. And then we've got a very simple dressing over here. So this is basically lemon zest and lemon juice, a touch of honey for a little bit of sweetness, and then a little bit of black pepper, and that goes in. And that's probably about a tablespoon that goes in there. So I'm going to give that a good mix.
Ian, with the measurements of everything else, you've been quite relaxed in how you're putting it together. Does it matter that much in terms of the consistency and the flavour profile?
I think it does, yeah. Look, I mean, in terms of getting a nutritionally balanced meal, all these recipes can be found on the Nourish Life website with exact quantities. Obviously, I'm letting my bit of my chef influence come there, so I'm quite casual in sort of adding, and I look, judging by eye at how much I'm adding of the ingredients. But yeah, sure. If you want it, if I say, to control the calories and to be mindful of the nutritionals in your salad. All the recipes are on the website with exact measurements and quantities. So yeah, I'm kind of freestyling it a bit, to be fair.
Luxey, maybe this is a good time to kind of touch on Nourish Life a little bit for those that don't know what that program is.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nourish Life is our sort of health and wellness program, and it has we have our Nourish Life website, which has a number of different recipes, and they're all nutritionally controlled. So they've all been nutritionally analysed to make sure they're not high in the public health sensitive nutrients such as fat, sugar, salt, and saturated fat. So like Ian said rightly, if you do actually quite enjoy the recipes that we are preparing here today, feel free to go online, and we can share the website as well. And the recipes are really easy to find on there, and we've got a whole host of loads of others. So if you are looking for sort of lunchtime inspiration of getting a bit bored of what you're making and want to know a few more recipe ideas, you can head on there. And we've got lots of informational content on nutrition articles, lifestyle, sleep, and so forth. So feel free to have a look.
Great, thanks. Back to you, Ian.
Thanks, Luxey. Great. Okay, so you're ready to plate up now. So for a more informal sort of dining experience, you can just have a large bowl of the salad. You could probably flake the mackerel in. I'm going to sort of plate it up as if it is a plated meal. And what I'm going to do is, so I don't know if I mentioned earlier on, this has got broccoli in it. I've purposely left the broccoli out just so we can use that almost as a garnish on the plate. So I'm going to put a couple of spoons of that on there. What we've done with the broccoli is we pop this in the oven. Normally broccoli is traditionally blanched. We put this in a really, really hot oven, so as hot as your oven can go, and for about 8 minutes. And what you get, if you look at that, I'm going to hold it up to the camera, you almost get, once again, it's quite dark and sort of charred edges. So your stem is nice and soft, succulent, juicy, and the top sort of crunchy with a slightly sort of charred flavor to it. So another option with the broccoli, once you've cooked it like this, is just, of course, chop it up and just mix it throughout the whole salad. So it almost becomes, I guess, like a quinoa tabbouleh type salad. But as I said, for the purposes of today, I'm just going to plate it up. So broccoli on top, and then I've got the mackerel. I mean, the mackerel does look really, really stunning. If I say so myself, I'm just going to hold it up again, just so you can see. And still, nice and succulent. And then just to finish off, I'm going to add a few pomegranate seeds, and then a couple of edamame. This will just kind of lift the salad. For me, the beauty of eating a dish like this is it's packed full of flavor. Obviously, all the nutrients are in there. Super delicious. When you finish eating, you don't feel the sort of heaviness of eating, you know, sort of a rich, you know, fat-filled meal. So I'm just going to hold that up to the camera so you can see it. Can you all see that?
Yeah, very good looking bit of food.
I mean, you could, if you wanted to serve that with a wedge of lime or a wedge of lemon on the side, but that's the mackerel salad. And then our next dish is the burger. So, very simple. The burger's ready now. So like I said, 5 minutes each side. They're relatively thin, 90 grams, won't take that long. If you bake them in the oven, I'd probably say go for an equal amount of time, about 10 minutes in the oven baked. You won't need to turn them. But yeah, really delicious. I've just had a look now, they smell amazing. So the salad, we're going to be using a whole wheat seeded bun. I mean, I think, actually, I'm not sure what your thoughts are regarding, you know, sort of refined flours and white flour, but definitely the option, would you agree, is to go for a sort of a whole wheat bun?
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, trying to go for your whole grains where possible, especially with your carbohydrate intake, is definitely more preferable. So especially with the seeded buns as well. So you're adding your seeds in there, so you've got more fiber, and definitely a nice option to sort of help keeping you fuller for longer as well with the slow release energy. So yeah, I'd definitely say that's a good option to go for.
Excellent. Great. So, with the slaw, it's a good idea, just as I've done, to give it sort of 5 minutes, just to kind of let those flavors mingle, and kind of just make, you know, get everything, all those flavors mingling nicely together. And I'd probably make this though on the day. You could potentially prepare your vegetables and the dressing, but definitely a mix on the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a good spoonful, a heaped spoonful. Can you all see? There we go.
Yeah.
Onto the back base of the bun. And I think, you know, with that cheese that's in that patty, I don't think it's necessary to butter the roll or put mayonnaise on or anything like that. I think it's great exactly as it is. So there we go, put that on the base.
Ian, would you say, I guess with the slaw, but I guess it depending on what you have sort of in your store cupboard and other sort of odd bits of veg and etc. Is there anything else you say you could probably add into your slaw that you want to put in? Do you reckon you could use other bits of vegetables that you might have?
Absolutely. So obviously you can sub the apple with pear. You could put some grated celeriac in there, that would be delicious. And then of course both your cabbages, white cabbage, red cabbage, you know, for that extra crunch. And that's very versatile. I put coriander in there, but you could easily put mint in there. Following on with the whole sort of pork theme, you could put some shredded sage in there, that would be delicious. Tarragon, dill, I mean, the sky's the limit really. And then in terms of your veg, you can sub out or you can just add in. And that in itself is delicious just to eat by itself. I mean, it's served on this as a kind of a relish, kind of a slaw relish type thing, but definitely as a standalone salad, you know, really lovely. And then I'm going to put some leaves on. I've got some wild rocket. I mean, personally, I love rocket. It's got that sort of nice punchy, sort of peppery flavor. And I think it really works well with meat. It can carry quite nicely. So you've got some wild rocket, and I'm just going to put a pinch of that on top. Make sure it doesn't fly all over the shop. There we go. Let's have a look at our burgers. So as I mentioned before, the burger's kind of shrunk now to the perfect size. You probably lose about, I don't know, 10% of your burger size. So sort of pretty much, I would say, bang on. That goes on top there. And then we go. Actually, if I can ask you a question, because automatically now I'm plating this up as a chef, I'm thinking, what about a nice plate of greasy chips? Is there a nice sort of healthy alternative you could have instead of going for those deep fried chips? What would you recommend that would be nutritional, but also not that sort of, you know, fatty sort of type thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. Traditionally, like you say, when you're sort of serving up a burger, you do kind of immediately go to that option of sort of deep fried fries. But I would say if you wanted to have another component to that, you could either serve it with an additional sort of side salad or even homemade potato wedges. That's quite a nice one. So, you know, boil off some potatoes and make them yourself, because that way you can at least control the seasoning too and put them through the oven or the grill instead. So a slightly healthier version of trying to get, I guess, still somewhat your sort of carbohydrate.
Excellent. So listen, I'm going to hold this in my hands. I'm going to hold it up to the camera just so you can see how deliciously amazing that does look. But I'm actually dying to dive into that now, which I won't on camera. If the camera's off, I will do. But that looks really, really great. And yeah, it's such a nice idea to have that quinoa and that cheese in it. So in terms of dishes, that is it. James, have you got any questions? Has anyone come through with questions?
I've got a quick question for you, Ian. It's more to do with about your proud heritage as a South African braai cook and your love of barbecuing. I mean, this move towards mixing more traditional meats with vegetable or kind of grain alternatives to kind of add the protein content, but it being better for the planet. Is that something that you think is a trend that's going to continue? And how does that, I don't know, make you feel in terms of your culinary history?
No, exactly. No, that's a valid point, because I think traditionally, if you go to a barbecue, it's meat. But I think now with modern cooking trends, so it's my grill again, let me switch that off. With modern cooking trends, definitely more and more people are putting vegetables on the barbecue. And for me, when I have a barbecue, before those coals are actually ready to add meat on, I invariably will always do something with vegetables, whether you're putting whole aubergines on to blacken the skins and make baba ganoush, or you've got, broccoli is absolutely delicious on a barbecue, and you can actually, it's very forgiving. You can cook that without actually damaging it. You can get nicely charred and burnt, but you still got a lovely flavor. Roasted peppers. I mean, I've done a couple of weeks ago, we had a barbecue, and I literally just got raw broccoli, I got wedges of onion and whole portobello mushrooms, and I put them on the coals when they were still really hot. Cooked them for a few minutes, put them in a bowl. That residual heat carried on cooking them, and I just chopped them all up with a nice healthy dressing. Amazing. So definitely. I also saw, I was reading in a book last week actually, the new Ottolenghi cookbook, in fact, and they put a dish forward for Meatopia, which is, I don't know if you know, it's an annual event where it's just everyone brings their meat out, and it's briskets and ribs and all that sort of stuff. And they did a dish which actually won an award, and that was, they did whole celeriacs, which they'd roasted for 3 hours so they're caramelized. They cut them into steaks, they barbecued those, and then on top of that they made a date barbecue relish.
Oh wow!
They put a couple of knobs of crumbled goat cheese on top, and then they did a kind of a chili garlic oil on top of that. I actually made it at home a couple of weeks ago, and absolutely delicious, really nice. The recipe, just a little plug, new Ottolenghi cookbooks, very good. But they put that at Meatopia, and it flew out the door. And I think it's interesting to see the trends. People are becoming a lot more aware of their carbon footprint and the planet and all that sort of thing. And I think just to start shifting that balance, instead of saying, right, South African barbecue, we've got 95% meat and there's 5% potato salad. Let's shift that a bit around. Let's maybe do 50% meat and let's do some really nice vegetables, because they can be super tasty, and it's not just your boring traditional coleslaw and new potato salad. It's all those charred grilled vegetables that just come to life in the barbecue. So yeah, that's my short answer.
Fantastic, very eloquently put. Luxey, have you got any more questions or?
No, the only one I did have, Ian, was if anyone did want to sub out the pork, would you say something like turkey mince could work, or sort of lean beef mince as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, turkey mince is lovely. I think it's underutilized. I think turkey mince in that will be delicious. Turkey is obviously very lean, not much fat, which is good, but you do need a little bit of that juiciness. So that grated smoked cheese be delicious in there. Really nice. So that would work very well. I'd go for probably a lean beef. Venison burger, also, I love venison, and I think venison and cheese, once again with quinoa. Quinoa is a really nice binding agent, and I think it kind of gives a bit of character, a bit of a crunch, something unusual. So definitely all those meats, I think would work very well.
Great. Well, I think that probably brings us to the end. Thank you so much, Luxey, and of course, Ian. Really insightful. The food looked absolutely delicious, and we hope you can all join us next time for more Wellness Wednesdays. Meanwhile, for more information about our programme of discussions, please go to RA Group's website at www.ragroup.co.uk/news to download the broadcast links. And meanwhile, if you have any questions or suggestions about how you can get involved, please email gavin.goody@ragroup.co.uk. Thank you again for joining us today. Have a fantastic afternoon and see you next week. Same time, same place.